Hello, hi, and welcome all. I'm Pushkar Shasvi and back with a new podcast session. Today we have with us Subhra Tripathy, who is also working currently as a senior associate in BCG, one of the top consulting firms. And we are happy to have here because she has done a lot of experiences in many good law firms also. Prior to that, prior to working in BCG, she was also working in many law firms and she's also a lawyer. So, hi Shubhra, how are you? Anything I missed?
Hi. No, I think you covered many law. I worked in one law firm, but yeah. So, hi, Pushkar, and I'm doing well. I hope you're also doing well, and everything is safe. In COVID times, that's definitely something one should always wish for everybody. But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, that's true. In this COVID era, everyone is just trying to find the loopholes of being safe, how they can be safe and sound. That's really nice. So, Shubhra, as I know a lot about you and you are really a big person to introduce. So, I would like our audience and viewers to know you. Can you give introduction with yourself?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Subhra Tripathy. I was a little bit personal background about myself. I was born in Bhubaneswar, but I've spent most of my life in Bombay. My dad had a transferable job, so we shifted to Bombay, and I've done most of my schooling, from here. Very much like, the large population in India, I also tried to do engineering because my parents were like, after 11th and 12th you should study for engineering. But I had a change of heart after my 12th standard, so I took a drop and I prepared for law, and I went to law school. I went to Nalsar University of Law in Hyderabad, and 5 years there I completed my law degree, and I had the opportunity to work with Khaitan and Company, which is one of the topmost law firms in India. I worked there for about 10 months. And, at that time, I was able to crack CAT and get an admission into Bangalore. So I chose to go there, completed my MBA, and, here I am working at BCG as a senior associate. So,
yeah. That's really great introduction. And as you have done from big institute, like Nalsar is one of the top institute in the law colleges, and IIM Bangalore is no introduction in itself. You have done in a very big college institute. That's really nice. So can you share your roles and responsibilities in BCG? Like what are your day-to-day roles and responsibilities?
Sure. So I'm working as a senior associate. It's been about 7 or 8 months, into the job. So as a senior associate, so the way consulting firms, or at least the way BCG works, is that, you have different projects. You might be doing a particular piece of work for a client. So that gets, that's called one project. And different people get staffed on that project. So you have a manager who's, the designation is called project leader or a partner. And then you have some senior associates and consultants working under, the project leader for that particular project. Now, each of us gets our own module. So, that big problem statement that the client has given to BCG gets divided up into smaller pieces of work, which are called modules. And as a senior associate, you typically handle a particular module from start to finish. So, for example, let's say that if it's a pharma company, you might be working on a particular, product that they are selling, and, the strategy for that product, and the whole project might be about, a strategy or something like that. If it's a insurance, company, and you are giving a strategy for them, you might be working on a, just, how they are going to handle one channel of sales. So, and then everybody will have modules like that. And then that module gets, aggregated together and then presented to the client. So as a senior associate, that's your job. You get one module and you have to think about, how to solve that problem, that mini problem statement that you get. And, whatever it entails to solve that mini problem statement, that's that is the scope of your job. So there's no, defined set of steps that I can tell you that, okay, in the morning I do this, and then, in the evening I do this, and this is my job. As succinctly as I can put it, it's that you get a mini problem statement. That's your module. You solve it.
Oh, all right. That's really nice and very insightful about what you do in your day-to-day responsibilities. So, like, is it work from home or you go to office for this?
Right now, the firm is operating in a hybrid model. So it depends from case to case. In my current case, I do go, I do go to the client office. I don't go to our office. My team meets up in the, client office. But, there are teams that I know who are working completely remotely. And there are also teams who are, going 100% of the time either to office or to client office, and some teams are doing a couple of weeks from home, going to office when it's required, so they're operating in a hybrid sort of model. So that's what's happening right now.
That's really nice. So one curiosity I wanted to ask, like, you did law as your graduate. So why sudden shift from law to MBA?
So it's a question that I get asked quite often. Now, I didn't really actually plan on doing my MBA so soon. I thought I would do it, 4 or 5 years after practicing law. But I definitely was leaning towards MBA itself. That's because I was working as a transactional lawyer. I was essentially doing corporate law. Right, I was working with a law firm and primarily doing transactional work. And after some conversations with my seniors, and generally after looking at how transactional lawyers work, I realized that perhaps doing an LLM, or which is basically a master's in law, might not be the most prudent idea. So what happens as a transactional lawyer is that, a year that you spend working, building your relation with your clients, getting that actual work experience of what happens, in execution of contracts, etc. That is more beneficial than reading about corporate law, is what I felt. Of course, if you are going to do your LLM abroad and your plan is to settle abroad, that becomes a easy route to go and seek jobs abroad. So that's totally different. But I always thought that if I'm going to practice transactional law, perhaps an LLM won't help, but maybe an MBA might, right? Because I'm already doing the legal side of business transactions, might as well explore the actual business side of business transactions. So that's the reason I was leaning towards doing an MBA. And, it so happened that I was able to crack CAT, and it happened a lot more sooner than I anticipated. Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice. That why you wanted to do MBA, and there were some things that were stopping you, that if you had done MBA, then you could have the management knowledge and everything. That's really nice. So while doing your MBA, which companies you have done your internship?
Oh, I actually did my internship with BCG and I got a PPO. So I didn't sit for my final placements. I, accepted the PPO. Yeah.
That's great. Like, you got into one internship and that you grabbed the PPO. Few students are able to do that.
Well, I was very lucky. Like, I consider that I was very lucky, especially, because my batch was right in the middle of the COVID wave. There was a lot of uncertainty, etc. So, I was very happy to get the PPO when I did.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So, Subhra, as you know, our audience we have as MBA aspirants also. So, how can you please give your guidance to the MBA aspirants, how you prepared for your CAT and cracked this time in Bangalore?
Sure. So, personally for me, I can only perhaps give advice to people who have a similar kind of background as me, like lawyers. I would not speak for engineers. I think the competition in CAT for engineers is far higher. You know, so for people who are lawyers or who have a similar kind of background as me, the advice I would give while preparing for CAT is that, the my feeling is that the subject area that CAT as an exam covers, they are not very complex subject areas. The key really to cracking CAT is getting your timing right. You have to get the most number of answers correct and avoid negative marking in as little time as possible, right? So that's the advice I give to my juniors from law school also, that before you start preparing, maybe you should just take a mock test or any past paper and solve it and see where you stand, because everybody has done 10th grade math. Everybody a lot of people are comfortable with English, but once you give that exam, you'll know where you stand, and after that you should take a call on what kind of help you need. And more often than not, I would say that the help you need is just practice, right? It's not some very complex questions that get asked. It's just about doing them fast, solving the questions fast and getting them right the first time, so that you avoid the negative marks in CAT. So that's the advice I have about preparing for CAT. Personally, for me, I was very lucky. I really liked math in my 10th standard.
Wow.
And I took science, right, for my 11th and 12th. So I had some touch with math, and, I didn't need that intense preparation. I had a good starting point because of my past background. So I was able to, manage the, work that I needed to do in my law firm. And this, I did, to be very honest, very little preparation for the actual exam. But for all the CAT aspirants out there, especially with your a law background, this is the advice I would have, that, you need practice. You need to be able to solve that, you need to be able to read that paragraph in English comprehension very fast and be able to retain it to answer the questions that follow. You need to be able to do the math problem fast. If you don't know it, skip it, right? Because you might not be able to finish the full all questions, but you need to get the most number right in the time that you have. So yeah, that's I think what I've learned from the CAT exam.
Wow, I think the most hated subject, mathematics, is your favorite subject in today's era. Everyone don't like mathematics. That's
for
really
lawyers. Yeah, for lawyers, it's especially true. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't lawyers who love math. I'm sure there are. But in my experience, most of my colleagues just don't like math at all for lawyers. So yeah, so it's a big troublesome spot for them.
Wow, that's really nice. So, Subhra, what made you join this consulting domain? You can have many other domains, so why consulting?
So couple of reasons, I think. So for me, while I was in B school, I realized that I liked a variety of subject areas. There wasn't a particular subject area that I was intensely attracted to over others, right? So starting from there, consulting seemed like a very good fit, because in a consulting firm, you get to work with a variety of different, industries on a variety of different problems, right? So, of course, as you grow within the organization, in a couple of years, you will sort of veer towards a particular industry area where you will build your expertise. But at least in the first couple of years, you get to experience a variety of different areas. You could be working with a charitable organization, you could be working with the IT industry, you could be working with the government, you could be working with pharma, insurance, fintech, etc., right? So for somebody like me who hadn't really chosen a particular industry, I would say, right? There are folks, there are a bunch of my colleagues who are very attracted towards a particular industry. Somebody really wants to work in pharma, somebody really wants to work in tech. But for me, that was not true, at least during my time in B school. So that's why I thought that, consulting would be a really good place, to start out, to get a flavor of these different industries. And, then, as you grow in the organization, of course, you will build your expertise in a particular area. But that's I think the major reason, for me to choose consulting. Of course, there are other aspects of the job that I really enjoy, like the possibility of travel. I know it has not happened for me a lot because even though now I'm, going to client office, I'm based out of Bombay and, I'm traveling within Bombay only. But there is a possibility, right, that you travel to a variety of different cities. So that is something that is, really attractive for me. And these couple of reasons are the reason that I thought that consulting would be a good fit for me. And during my summer placements, I was again very, very glad and very lucky to have a couple of different shortlists, and it worked for me. So yeah.
That's really informative and very insightful, that why you should go for consulting and why you should choose consulting. As you truly said, because in consulting you would be interacting with different types of industries and solving different case problems. So I guess you have got lot of learnings in consulting also, how to crack big cases of big industries. That's right. And are there any myths about consulting according to you?
Myths about consulting. Like, why don't you tell me some of your beliefs about consulting and I'll tell you if it's a myth or not.
According to me, I think that consulting is, just providing solutions. That if you have any problem, I will provide you solution. I mean, you are consulting the person. If he has something in mind or some idea in mind, then you can consult him on that idea, that you should not work on this idea, work on that idea to give profit. Is that true, or is that?
I mean, yeah, just taking that idea a little bit forward, when I had joined BCG, my father would also ask me, this question that, okay, you get a problem statement and then you give some solution and then what, right? So you are right. As a consulting firm, you get problem statements from the client. They may be facing an issue in operations or in strategy, whatever it is, you get that problem statement and then you try and solve that and you give them some recommendations, XYZ. But consulting can be more than that also. It really depends on the scope of the project that the client has given to the firm, right? Sometimes it is just about giving a strategy or giving some recommendations for a problem statement, but it goes all the way to implementation also. So you have implementation projects where, you give the strategy also, then you sort of, hold the hands of the client as they implement the change or the recommendations that you have given, right? So you take that step with the client. So you stay on and you ensure the implementation of those solutions as well. So it really depends on the scope of your project. So I would say partially right, we do give solutions, but if the scope of the project is such that you have to also implement those solutions, then we also help in the implementation, right? So yeah, that's my answer.
That's right, and very truly said, that sometimes we have to also give solutions to the client, and sometimes there are already solutions, but a creative solution is also required for the client. That's really true. So any skills are required for this domain?
I think that in consulting, couple of things that will really help you go a long way. One is, I think, you will hear this from everybody, that you need to have problem solving skills, right? And what is problem solving? It's just, looking at some problem or some issue, and what you need to really be able to do is break it down into smaller, solvable, more approachable parts, and then tackling each of those parts so that you are able to solve the big problem, right? So that's, I think, a really good skill to have. If somebody gives you some statement, or somebody gives you, okay, this is the issue that is happening, what do we do about it, right? So you should always try to what I mean by problem solving is just this, that you should try to look at that question and be like, okay, I can break it down into A, B, C, D, E parts, and then maybe for A I'll do this, for B I'll do this, for C, D, and E I'll do this, and then once I've done all of these 5 tasks, the overall problem will also be solved, right? That's really the way to approach any issue or any problem, and that is a useful skill to have. And the other skill that I would really stress upon is building your communication skills, right? So even if you have a creative idea or a creative solution, the point really is to say it or present it in such a way that the other person also understands, first of all, what the solution is, gets excited about this creative solution that you've come up with, because you need that buy-in from the client, right? Because at the end of the day, consulting is a client-facing service industry. So we can come up with 10 recommendations, but until and unless our client also agrees that those 10 recommendations are right, our 10 recommendations are just recommendations on paper then, right? So that is really important. And I think communication skills is something that is really important, not just in consulting, but in many jobs, right? Even if you are not in a consulting firm, but some other industry, you have to get the buy-in from your manager, right? You have to get the buy-in from your internal stakeholders. So this is a skill that will help you everywhere, but in consulting or in a client-facing role, it becomes doubly important, right? Because you might think that your idea is like really, really great. You've come up with this creative solution, the best solution, it is really going to change the industry, but you're not able to communicate it, then that idea really just dies, a premature death. So these 2 skills, I would say, are really important.
All right. That's really nice. Because communication skill, I think, is important for every domain. Whether you go for marketing, whether you go for finance, in every domain, communication is the best. Without communication, nothing can happen. So
Definitely,
that's truly said. So according to you, Subhra, what do you think? This consulting domain is for the people who are freshers also, or who have experience, worked in any industry or what?
So I think consulting firms, in the practical sense of the word, in B school, I don't think there is any issue that freshers face in actually getting shortlists or getting hired in consulting firms. But other than that, also looking at it from an outsider's perspective, being a fresher and being part of a particular team could be, having a fresher as a part of your team could be a really good thing, right? Because sometimes when you have experience in that industry, you may think that, okay, this is the way the industry works, right? And you might not be able to really think that way the industry works may change very drastically, right? You might not be able to have that creative idea. Whereas freshers or people who don't have work ex don't come with that baggage, right? They're like, okay, this is the way the industry works, but why not this way also? Seems logical to me, right? So I think there's advantages of having previous background in a particular industry. It helps you get up to speed very quickly on projects, right? So for example, if somebody is having a CA background, they might do very well in financial service cases because they're able to get up to speed very, very quickly. But I don't think that somebody who's a fresher faces a lot of difficulty. There's enough room to learn and to grow. And, at least in my experience in BCG, even, nobody really cares what is the work X that you've had before. You are open to throw out your ideas. If you have some ideas or, any thoughts that you might want to present on how we should approach a particular problem, everybody is, willing to listen and open to your thoughts and ideas. So, yeah, I think being a fresher can have its own advantages. Similarly, having experience in a particular industry might come in very handy when you're doing cases in that industry. So both have its pros and cons, I would say.
That's true. That's true. Because if you are fresher, you should not feel, offended, or you should not feel guilty that, oh, I am a fresher, then how can I go into consulting? And there are a lot of things that a consulting firm look for, that you should have this skill, that skill. So if you are having certain skills which they are looking for, then fresher shouldn't face any issue, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's true. So, as you also know, as you have done your MBA from a very renowned and a very top institute, many students face this difficulty, like which domain they should be: marketing, finance, operation, which domain? So, according to you, what would you like to tell to them?
I mean, what domain a student or a person should choose? It totally depends on your interests, right? So, as I said, the reason I kind of chose consulting was because I didn't really have that passion, I would say, for a particular kind of, sector or a particular kind of thing. So that's why I chose consulting. Perhaps, I could even say that it buys me more time to find that passion, right? But there are folks in B school who, fall madly in love with a particular subject, right? If I give the example of my partner, he really loves tech, right? He consumes a lot of technology. His YouTube is filled with, tech reviews. He reads The Verge like a newspaper, right? And but it is obvious that he would want to work in the tech sector, right? So similarly, if somebody is just enthralled with, marketing, then they should definitely opt for a marketing job. So I think it really depends on, what is interesting to you, and you can find that out by, looking at your own habits, right? What is it that you read? What is the media that you consume? What gets you, really excited when you hear, a particular news, right? Those can give you indicators of what is really the area which you are passionate about. And, there's no, what I would say is shortfall of opportunities. If you have a particular area that you're really passionate about, you will find opportunities in that area, right? And in B schools, you have a plethora of job options, right? You have consulting, you have finance, you have marketing, all sort of roles, are open when placements are happening. So you can have your pick. If you are passionate about a particular, kind of work, you should definitely gun for that kind of job.
That's true. Because you might have also seen many students, are confused, like which domain they should do, and they ask their friends or mentors that which domain, because marketing is also nice, but I want to earn money. So they are, confused. Like, if I go into this, then will it benefit me? So that's why I think so that every student should know what are their, interest in what they want to grow, and what they are looking themselves in 5 years. That's truly said.
Yeah.
That's nice. So as you have worked for so many law firms also, and working in a very big company, you might be having some mission or vision in your life. So what are those?
I mean, in the short term, it's very much about working in a couple of more different practice areas that I want to explore. I've worked with a couple of different practice areas in my 7 months here, but there are a couple more that I would like to explore. Maybe a bit more on financial services, maybe social impact, etc. So in the short term, that's what I want to do. I want to explore a couple more practice areas. In the long term, my plan is to actually do at least a stint abroad. That's I come from a very small town. I've lived in Navi Mumbai, for 10 years, but originally we are from Odisha, and I've really wanted to go abroad and work there and experience different kinds of cultures, etc. So that's what I want to do. I don't know if it's the long term, but at least in the medium term, that's what I want to do. I want to go abroad, and work maybe in one country, maybe in a couple of countries, wherever life takes me. But that's the medium term. And I don't know. I can't say what is going to happen in the long term. I didn't expect to be, doing my MBA so soon. So I feel like, in the long term, I'm still making up the plan as I go. So long-term commitments I don't have right now.
I would say that, life is full of unexpectations. You don't know what's going to happen next. And suddenly you just get that. But one quote that really hits me hard is, life never stops you teaching and you should never stop learning. So that's the quote I follow. Any quote you also follow?
Nothing comes to mind right now. I resonate with the quote that you just said. Life always keeps, teaching you. I think change is the only constant, right? For me, that has been so true. I never thought that, I would suddenly take a drop and go to law school. I don't think my parents also expected that. And then, after spending so much time with law, and I absolutely loved my time at law school, and I really liked my job at my law firm also. I didn't expect to suddenly leave and go do an MBA so soon, and then join a consulting firm. So change is the only constant is perhaps the only quote that comes to mind then.
That's nice. That's really nice. So coming to the last part of the session, Subhra, I would really like to thank you. A special thanks to you for taking out your busy schedule and giving us our podcast session. I guess by now, those who are watching, they have got a bit knowledge that where they should go and which domain they should choose, because you have given a very insightful and very informational thing. Thank you so much, Subhra.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thank you.